Well, the virus has now killed more than 100 people in China, and new cases have been confirmed around the world.
So you don't want to frighten the American public.
France and South Korea have also got evacuation plans.
But you need to prepare for and assume
strongly warning Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China.
That this is going to be a real serious problem.
France, Australia, Canada, the US, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, the list goes on.
Health officials are investigating more than 100 possible cases in the US.
Germany, a man has contracted the virus.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
Japan, where a bus driver contracted the virus.
Coronavirus has killed more than 100 people there and infected more than 4,500.
We have to prepare for the worst, always, because if you don't and the worst happens.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, says nothing is inevitable. And that means through human action and human agency. You will determine your own fate, and in doing that, determine the fate of the country. And in determining the fate of the country, determine the fate of free men and women everywhere. So your moment is now. There are decades in which nothing happens, and weeks in which decades happen. And I got to tell you, I got to thank Vish and Dan and Jason Miller and the entire team today for a show of patriots. Senator Rand Paul, Dave Bonson, and now a fighter. And I don't mean just an ex-boxer, because he is an ex-boxer, and a former football player at Georgetown, and a tough guy, but a great guy and a smart guy, Steve Cortes. Steve, 36 million unemployed. You're a jobs guy. The reason you're a Wall Street guy, but you were attracted to Donald Trump. You're an economic nationalist. You're a populist. You were attracted to Trump because you said, hey, Trump is the first guy that speaks to the Hispanic community, the African-American community, the working class community about jobs and growth and jobs and growth and jobs and growth. You were one of the earliest guys, and I think the earliest guys on Wall Street to get it. Where do we stand today with the Trump revolution, given the jobs report and what Chairman Powell told us yesterday, which is a decade of grinding in front of us?
Right. Well, the unfortunate reality is that the news continues to be terrible on the jobs front. We had almost 3 million more added to jobless claims today. That brings us over the last 2 months to about 36 million total Americans. It was only weeks ago, it's hard to remember that, it was only weeks ago that we had the best job market in generations for working class labor in this country. But that sentimentality will not pay our bills. This is the present situation. The CCP put us in this situation, but regardless, we have to deal with it, and we have to figure out the way out. The great news is we have in the Oval Office, as president and entrepreneur in chief, a CEO who did it once and can do it again. What I'm advocating for, and I posted an article this morning on Real Clear Politics, is that I think we need policy prescriptions that are big, bold, and very importantly, fast. And to me, the policy from here to rebuild jobs, it's not some top-down government bureaucracy. It's not massive spending from the federal government. Nancy Pelosi finally emerged from her ice cream bunker in San Francisco and told us that she wanted to spend over $3 trillion. Well, I had to tell you, Steve, I actually tend to agree with the price tag, but not the methods, because what I'm saying is let's take the tax rate to zero. For a year, for a recovery year. Let's let entrepreneurs, small businesses, let's let every worker in America literally keep all of their money. That will give them the financial firepower to rebuild this economy quickly. And just as importantly, I think, Steve, it will give them the confidence to get back out and hire and spend and invest. No taxes for a year. It costs about the same as what Nancy Pelosi is advocating. We can borrow right now at historically cheap rates. To me, this makes economic sense. This is the kind of propellant to reignite the economic engine of America.
Plus, it would set all the markets on fire. This is what I don't understand. You've been advocating it, and we're going to put the Real Clear Politics article up because you're a brilliant writer. And by the way, Steve Cortes, and we'll link to it later, has got a show out in Chicago that's absolutely on fire also. He's turned out to be not just a brilliant financier, but also a fantastic media, radio personality. We know we would go into CNN and take the hard shots, but now he's hosting his own show. Why? What's the resistance to this? Why is this not being done? This is simple. It's straightforward, and it happens immediately. Why are we in this kind of back and forth about Nancy Pelosi's $3 trillion and the Senate's not going to do it? Why? What is the resistance to your plan?
Well, I would say from the left, what they don't like, obviously, is that this empowers the people rather than empowering the swamp, rather than empowering the bureaucracy. If you look at Nancy Pelosi's wish list, for example, it even includes loans to lobbyists. I'm not making that up. It literally involves government loans to lobbyists, checks for illegal immigrants, support for marijuana businesses. It's just an absurd liberal wish list. What I'm saying is the diffusion of power, and let's send the people the resources they need to make millions and millions of economic decisions, and again, to gain the confidence. We have a crisis of confidence right now in our country because we're in the middle of an economic inferno. Now, it's nobody's fault. It's not Nancy Pelosi's fault, even, as miserable a leader as I think she is. It's nobody's fault in the United States. It's only the fault of the junta in Beijing. But regardless, we have to figure out how to solve it. I will say from the right, I've gotten a lot of pushback about borrowing. And my answer to them is this. This is not the time to suddenly get religion on deficits. We ran up over $20 trillion of deficits without an emergency in this country. This is the time that we should be borrowing. We were effectively hit by an economic meteor. It's something that thankfully happens very rarely. And so it makes sense now, with rates near zero, for us to borrow a substantial amount of money to bet effectively on the American economy and say we're going to empower small businesses to get going again so that they can keep their business. And again, Steve, here's the thing. What government wants to do is top down, right? They want central planning. Let's create a program. Let's create a bureaucracy. Let's pick winners and losers, which businesses are essential, which businesses are not. I'm saying enough of that. This is true power to the people, if I can use a phrase that the left normally uses. Let's let workers decide. Let's give them an immediate raise, and let's let them decide where they should invest and spend. And I'm confident that if we give this power to the American people, we're going to see amazing results. I mean, do you know how hard a lot of entrepreneurs are going to work if they know they are keeping 100% of what they earn? I think it could be incredible for this country.
Steve, one of the things that's frustrated me with the introduction of Nancy Pelosi's Zeros Act, I used that quip yesterday because it has 12 zeros on the $3 trillion. But even some of the commentary we're seeing from Republicans in the Senate, and look, even some of the folks in the White House, I don't feel like anyone is doing the look ahead about the future of the economy. So just take a small ball example, not small ball, it's $1.5 billion. The House Zeros Act has $1.5 billion for broadband. Okay, as we're learning all here, as we're working from home, as everything is online, as our Zoom conferences and our Cisco WebExes are cutting out, and our Netflix isn't giving me the HD that I pay the extra $3 a month for. Netflix sucks. Files, part of that's your problem. But nobody's saying, hey, let's go put money to 5G. Let's go and look to the future economy. Let's do this. Why isn't there more of a visionary look from any of these policymakers about where the economy is going?
Jason, it's a great question. I think part of the problem right now, quite frankly, is there's complacency. I think there's a real lack of urgency in the Capitol. And I think one of the reasons is when you look at government, nobody's lost their job. Nobody has lost their job in the bureaucracy. And so I don't think that they're feeling the pain right now. In addition, because of these enhanced unemployment benefits, I think there's a relative calm in the country right now. But we know that that won't last, okay? We know that in some ways, this is the eye of the storm. And yes, things are fairly calm presently, but the backside of the storm can be more powerful than the front side. And I don't mean to say that because I'm pessimistic or cynical. Again, I believe America can and will do this. And I think we have the right man in the White House to lead us out of this. But I do think there's a complacency, particularly in Washington, D.C. And I'm trying to shake people and wake them up and say, we can't be complacent with tens of millions of Americans newly out of work. And you're exactly right. We have to think in visionary ways. We have to be big and bold, and we have to be fast. Now, Congress isn't good at doing any of that, but President Trump is. And I believe that he can challenge Congress. Let's make Nancy Pelosi say no to giving that single mom waitress an immediate pay raise. Let's make her say no publicly. Put her on the spot.
Okay, every time on these Jobbers Report, we have Dave Bonson, we have Jason Trennert, we have you within a day or two because we think you're three of the smartest guys on Wall Street. Bonson came on here about Powell and said, hey, what he said yesterday and the way they're managing the yield curve is essentially telling the American people this is the Japanification of the economy. You're going to have 10 years of no growth. That stands juxtaposed. I'm not saying it's not real, but that's 180 out from the Steve Cortes, we got to grow the economy, in Donald Trump. What do you say about Bonson's analysis? Is that your takeaway from Powell?
Yes, I think that is the risk, unfortunately. I think the risk of doing nothing right now, or the risk of complacency, unfortunately, is that we are looking at a slog that will last for years to try to recover from this mess that we're in currently, which, again, a mess not of our doing. It's the fault of the CCP. And by the way, that's not just my opinion. More importantly, it's the opinion of the bond market. So I've been trading bonds for 25 years. 10-year yields on U.S. Treasuries are well below 1% right now, only 0.6% 10 years out. That is a terrible sign from the bond market, that the bond market does not believe in inflation. We'd like some inflation right now. Historically, we don't like it. We would welcome some right now. The bond market doesn't believe there's inflation, doesn't believe that there's growth. Generally, bond markets are very smart, generally smarter than equity markets. So the risk right now is that dour. Yes, I do agree, unfortunately, with the prognostications of Powell and Bonson. But my point is, we don't have to, as you said, quoting President Trump, Steve, nothing's inevitable. We don't have to accept that. We're Americans, and culturally and demographically, we're massively different than Japan. We don't have to fall into a Japan morass if we take big, bold, fast action.
One of those big, bold, fast actions is, what are we going to do? You continue to bang the drum every day, say CCP, CCP, CCP. Walk us through your analysis. How do we hold them accountable, and what do we ask them for, and what do we ultimately get?
Well, I really like the idea of, I don't think we can just do it unilaterally, as much as I don't generally believe in multilateral organizations. I'm an American nationalist, of course, but I do think in this case, it makes sense for the United States to use some multilateral structures out there to make the legal case so that it doesn't look like the United States is acting like a cowboy, but to make a legal international case against China. There have to be reparations. That much is clear. And I mean in the trillions of dollars. I'm not talking about small scale reparations. But more importantly, I think longer term, because those payments would be terrific near term, but longer term, what we've learned certainly is something President Trump has been preaching to this country since before he even got into politics, is that China is not a trade partner, it is a trade exploiter. And America first doesn't mean America alone. We do want to trade with other countries, but we should primarily trade with our friends and allies and with people who want to be in partnership with the United States. And I think most especially our neighbors, Canada and Mexico. So long term, I believe the future for the Americas is incredibly bright. And I think the decoupling from China has already begun in earnest. And it's a decoupling that we should welcome. We shouldn't be scared of it. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy to disentangle supply lines that have been built over decades with China, but it means that it's necessary. And also, another reason why I believe longer term, we don't have to become Japan. We don't have to accept that fate. Once manufacturing continues to, and it was already happening even before this crisis, once manufacturing continues to onshore back to the United States, and we have the correct incentives to make that happen, like no taxes for a year, then the long-term future for manufacturing and for wage earners, for working class people, the deplorables in this country, that future is going to be bright. Things are terrible right now. They really are. There's no way to sugarcoat it. But there are ways out. And the best attributes of America are also going to be our biggest assistance in getting us out of this current situation.
Steve, how do people get to your Twitter feed? How do they get to these you make a 1-minute video every day, and we'll tell them about the show. We got about a minute. Walk us through how they get more access to Steve Cortes.
You bet. So I'm posting a MAGA Minute video every day on my Twitter about different subjects. I'm going to do one very shortly about the race in California, Mike Garcia's win, and what it means for Hispanics and President Trump. I'm at Cortes Steve is my Twitter, Cortes with an S. And then anybody who wants to listen to my radio show, you don't have to be in Chicago. You can stream it anywhere, 560theanswer.com on the afternoon rush hour, 5 to 7 p.m. every day in Chicago, 5 to 7 p.m. Central Time.
Steve Cortes, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate you coming on the show. Fantastic. This is where you get the non-happy talk. I mean, Cortes ought to be augmented onto the task force today, right? He ought to be augmented to the task force as an economic guy. He speaks Trump. Trump is about growth, but you just can't sit there with a magic wand and say we're going to have growth. This is going to be a grind, right? Jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what I'll be talking about every day. Jobs, jobs, jobs. And those jobs have got to be manufacturing jobs.
I also like the fact that his program incentivizes greed, right? I mean, this is the engine behind our free market economy. So Well, we're paying people more to sit at home than to work. Now you are potentially incentivizing people to really go to work full-time, work extra hours, because every dollar means another dollar.
Of course, the way we would put it is enlightened self-interest. But I know you libertarians, greed. I know the animal.
I'm just sticking with Adam Smith here.
Adam Smith on Rand or whatever. Okay. Hashtag war on pandemic about the show. Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention as well that he brought up a great point about the compensation and stuff as well with that Henry Jackson report we had a couple of weeks ago. We're going to be talking about another one tomorrow as well.
We'll get into this when we get back, okay? Hashtag war on pandemic. Let us know what you think. War Room's going to be back in a moment.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. You know me as the My Pillow guy, but what you might not know is my story. I've spent years writing my memoir, and it's finally done. Before this terrible pandemic came upon us, I had already wrote, I dedicate this book to anyone looking for hope. Well, right now, we're all looking for hope. And I've always used mathematics to prove that God exists. In our lives, we've had things happen that are 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion, or we might say that's impossible. Well, when do we say it all has to be a miracle? My life has been like living inside of a movie, and in my book, I have pictures that are going to validate everything that you're going to read. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible.
Mike spent the last 7 years writing his book to share his life story. In this difficult time we are in, Mike's book will bring much needed inspiration and hope to everyone who reads it.
But now the game was over. The house had won. I was going to die right here on this deserted street. A small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO. Enter the promo code and you'll receive free shipping. Mike will also include a free $25 MyPillow gift card. Mike shares his incredible story of addiction, divine intervention, and hope. In his new memoir, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO, learn how Mike's 14 near-death experiences and heavy crack addiction led him from a place of total darkness into the light. Mike's personal stories of transformation remind us that with faith, all things are possible. Call now or visit MyPillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Enter the promo code and you'll receive free shipping. Mike will also include a free $25 MyPillow gift card.
I'm Nick Bolton, and these days...
Hey there.
Hey there. It seems everybody has a pair of tactical sunglasses.
Good morning.
Morning. But what if you already wear glasses? Then you need these flip-up tack glasses. These new glasses fit right over your existing eyewear to give you all the benefits of our tack glasses while you comfortably wear your regular glasses. Plus, like all tack glasses, flip-up tack glasses feature Bell & Howell light filtering technology that makes invisible objects suddenly become visible. There's just nothing like them on the market today. Here you go, buddy.
Thanks, Nick.
Act now to get your flip-up tack glasses for just $19.99, and we'll even ship them to you free. But wait, order today and you can get a second pair. Just pay a separate fee. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-284-4127 or go to flipupglasses.com. That's 1-800-284-4127 or order online at flipupglasses.com.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We've had Rand Paul, Dave Bonson, Steve Cortes, and now we're going to have Dr. Richard Bright, right, who's giving testimony today in the first of many. The witch hunt has started, folks, so get ready for it. Oh, excuse me, it's just oversight. It's this guy's, checking in. And remember, they weren't going to go back in history, not going to go in history, just looking forward. Write that one down. That was Nancy Pelosi and I think Clyburn, right? Both said, we're not going to go into history. We're just going to look at what happened. I think they started with Dr. Bright back in the past, but HHS is firing back, right? Michael Caputo is not going to take – Michael Caputo, they don't understand. They got a warrior over there. Caputo worked with us in the war. He's a war room guy from the 2018. He was on the campaign in 16, but he was a war room guy in 18.
So just to set the scene, Rick Bright is up there now as the their whistleblower unofficially, saying he was alarmed that the US didn't have enough stockpiles or testing capabilities, that he was mentioning this all the time in meetings, that he was told he was creating a commotion and being asked to leave said meetings, and so on and so forth. A very sort of whiny testimony that we've heard this morning so far, but that's okay. Maybe he's just that kind of guy. There will be some. No, it's okay. Maybe there's some substance buried deep in there. Who knows? We'll get to the bottom of it, right?
Means he's kind of like Raheem.
Okay, Boomer.
Deep within the soy. Deep within the soy for Dr. Bright.
Now,
let's set the stage for Bright, though. BARDA is the equivalent of DARPA. DARPA is the advanced think tank inside the national security system at the Pentagon, where all the big brains are thinking downrange on what solutions are. BARDA is the equivalent of that in the public health space. And this is a very important think tank, action area, and whoever heads it is a player.
Big time. But HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, this morning is pushing back on the allegations that Bright is making up there on Capitol Hill, with his mask sometimes on and his mask sometimes not on, by the way. So the HHS press release is entitled Claim versus Reality and reads, quote, Rick Bright was transferred from his role as BARDA director to lead a bold new billion-dollar testing program at NIH, critical to saving lives and reopening America. Mr. Bright has not yet shown up for work, but continues to collect his $285,010 salary while using his taxpayer-funded medical leave to work with partisan attorneys who are politicizing the response to COVID-19. His whistleblower complaint is filled with one-sided arguments and misinformation. HHS is reviewing the complaint and strongly disagrees with the allegations and characterizations made by Rick Bright. Incredibly important points, Jason.
Yeah, and look, I want to go back to it again. The fact that he hired Christine Blasey Ford's attorney, what does the former BARDA guy who just wants to go out there and tell the truth, what do you need the Brett Kavanaugh accuser's attorney, which, by the way, ended up being a whole bunch of nothing. Why does he need Christine Blasey Ford's attorney if he's just going out there to share the truth?
Jack, is he the Fiona Hill of this? Is this where we're now going to get the apparatchiks that are all going to start to come forward? And I'm not criticizing Dr. I've heard that Dr. Bright, when he was at BARDA, actually did a good job before this started, and I realized he got his nose out of joint for a bunch of reasons, and I'm sure I'll come for it. But is he the Fiona Hill equivalent?
It sounds like it, and maybe really he got Christine Blasey Ford's attorney, because let's think about it. The really big thing that she did for Christine Blasey Ford was set up the GoFundMe page, where she got almost $1 million from the American people for being a rhymes with witch baby.
Where's the coffin? I need that coffin.
This is where Jack Maxey is the player in the war room. He went there. It was so great.
That was a mic drop.
It was so good.
You can walk out now.
So
you always got to leave, like George Costanza said, leave on a high.
Unbelievable. Is there, in reality, there may be a little bit about that. Why do you hire somebody that's so, obviously going to trigger so many people it's not about getting to the facts. It's not about getting to the truth. It's about this thing of constantly.
Maybe he wants a book deal. Just as I see this, I'm not sure what those rules for retrogrades. But maybe he wants a book deal.
You're calling book deal Bright?
Book deal Bright.
I stole that. Okay, give me credit for that. He gets all the good things.
You get that one. Hashtag book deal Bright.
Book deal Bright.
Or maybe he wants a CNN contributorship.
You never know. Hey, I get the title, The Years at BARDA, right? BARDA that. But are people on fire like they normally are for these things? It sounds like it's a little bit of it's not exactly going what they hoped it was.
The left's pumping it up. You're seeing a lot of that, and the left-wing journalists on the blue check marks on Twitter pumping it up. But I said to you in the break, I think this is the wrong avenue to proceed down for them. Bright is not going to come across to the rest of the country as particularly credible, given especially what we're learning from HHS about him not turning up to work, using this partisan attorney, still collecting his taxpayer-funded salary, while most people in the country are collecting zero salary, right? And the other part of it is, how did this technocratic argument play out during the impeachment proceedings. I don't think the left learned that actually the American public doesn't like technocrats and bureaucrats finger wagging up at them. It didn't work with Fiona Hill. It didn't work with Alex Vindman. It's not going to work with Rick Bright.
Here's the other thing, too, where I think
Vindman's still waiting for his book deal.
There's a huge difference, but go ahead.
Here's where he's gotten crosswise, though, and I don't know if any of the Republicans have called this out. Let's go back to Steve's favorite, Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, and the fact that she said that there'll be a vaccine ready for emergency use, likely this fall and even early next year. Even when you take Dr. Goldpost and you start figuring out his timetable, it's going to be somewhere into early next year. What people don't want to hear is essentially fear porn, people that are out there going and scare. So when Rick Bright is out there, and as Caitlin Collins from CNN tweeted out, Rick Bright casts doubt on a vaccine being ready in 12 to 18 months. Experts have said that if everything goes right, and Bright says we've never seen everything go perfectly, still think 12 to 18 months, very aggressive schedule. Here's his problem. He has other people from within the government who are saying completely different things, and he comes across as rooting for us not to get there. That's a dangerous spot. If you're going to truly be a quote unquote whistleblower, there's a difference between that and rooting for us to fail. Sounds to me like Dr. Book Deal Bright is rooting for America to fail while he's cashing his $285,000 a year salary.
I do regard myself a little bit of an ombudsman on this show, and I will say that has been the Steve Bannon line for a while though as well. It's vaccine. The idea of a vaccine within 12 to 18 months is kind of happy talk.
It's happy talk,
right? I mean, come on, let's be clear.
It's happy talk.
By the way, here's how you chop up Bright. Here's how you chop up Bright. What did he say in that email on March the 19th? That you tweeted out yesterday. This is the big thing about him, right? He says on March the 19th in an email praising the work of Joe Hamill, a manager of emerging technology who had detailed efforts to get his hands on hydroxychloroquine. Bright replied all to that email. He said, amazing work, great teamwork, Joe equals awesome chloroquine king, right? Bright's, what he's saying now in his disgruntled with Trump way does not measure up with the private Bright over email that he was pretending to be on the team and in favor of the HCQ and all that. He'll now go up there and say, oh, Trump never had a plan and all this HCQ stuff was happy talk and it was never going anywhere. He said, awesome chloroquine king.
And again, why isn't he at the House Oversight Committee? Oh, that's right, because his buddy, Subcommittee Chair Anna Eshoo, who he sent all these projects to, who's been his biggest champion, his biggest benefactor, invited him. So he's going to his homie, Subcommittee Chairwoman Anna Eshoo. He's going to her committee, go and do this. This isn't some House Oversight. Because normally when you think of a whistleblower, doesn't that sound like a House Oversight type committee? Why would you be an Energy and Commerce Subcommittee if you're doing a whistleblower, unless this is a total political hatchet job?
If he's a whistleblower, here's what I think my recommendation, and it's about pulling the country together. I'd like to know what Dr. Bright told. The two major areas we're talking about are therapeutics and testing and maybe vaccines, okay? Only reason I keep saying there's no vaccine, we can't plan on a vaccine. There's no vaccine for SARS or HIV. Fauci came up with the concept of the cocktail therapeutically that lets you manage HIV so that you can have a normal life and stop the 30 million people who are dying. The same thing I think is probably what we're going to see here first. There may be a vaccine. Maybe there's a Jonas Salk. You have a Manhattan Project. I think it's amazing. If it happens, that's great. You can't plan on that. I'd like to know from Dr. Bright, just start at the beginning and walk us through from BARDA the 3 lines of work that you should have been doing. I'd like to see the emails, and I'd like to see what you told the task force. I understand that you weren't in a lot of task force meetings. Maybe you weren't officially on there because they had higher ups. That's fine. You clearly prepped them for these meetings. They were asking questions. I'd like to know everything you told them on therapeutics and the hydroxy thing. I'd like to know everything you told them about testing. And particularly, I'd like to know when you warned the President of the United States and the task force that the CDC testing operation that the President of the United States depended upon, because the data-based, evidence-based, science-based CDC that CNN has every former director up there as a contributor, told the president, we got this. I'd like to know Dr. Bright, when he first signaled, I don't think they have it. I just want to methodically, and then the vaccines, and maybe even throw antibody testing out there. And for the task force and for Vice President Pence and Mark Short, I would assume that when Bright told us that, there's no difference in what the task force has been telling us. that it kind of lines up that, hey, we've had to get the public labs in because CDC didn't come through. We got that. That is called nothing's inevitable. And guess what? The administrative state, and I've never said burn down the administrative state. What I say, you have to take it on and deconstruct it so you don't have screw-ups like the CDC leaning on their shovels. And it's why the jam we're in. It's why we don't know where we stand for therapeutics, which Fauci tells you have to have a cocktail. You have to have some sort of therapeutics where you open up the school where, hey, doc, what have the BARDA guys been doing? This is the think tank. This is the DARPA. This is where all those advanced things are supposed to be going. Where is my therapeutics program? Where's my protocol on research, on dollars? And Dr. Bright had this. This could be actually good for the country. It doesn't have to be accusatory, but Dr. Bright is going to have to stand and deliver on exactly what you told people and when you told them. And if they sent you over there and they really wasn't for a better job, but they would just want to kick you out of there for some reason, then tell us why. And tell us what I haven't seen a big reveal so far in anything. So I said, winter is coming, everything like that. We got that, Doc. We understand that. We just saw the economic inferno we're going to hit.
One thing that's interesting,
we got 5 seconds called radio, Jack.
Is he saying there's going to be no vaccine?
Okay, we're going to be right back with Jack Maxey.
Pain, swelling, stiffness. When your hands hurt, you can't function. Until now. Introducing the new Copperfit compression gloves with Sure Grip technology to give you more power, more control, and more agility than ever. Our most advanced copper-infused compression fabric woven into an ultra-lightweight performance glove that fits like a second skin to support relief and recovery of sore muscles and painful joint stiffness. And new Sure Grip bands built in to provide a strong, non-slip grip for more power and control.
You need total control of your hands when you're doing anything with construction. Your hands are your livelihood. The Copperfit gloves are great. The grip is outstanding here with these different ribs. It makes my hand a lot more usable. It just feels like you're just ready to start the job.
The gloves have been a game changer for me. They help with flexibility and pain and soreness. They allow me to do my job even better.
Breathable wicking fabric with an open finger design for full range of motion, feel, and control.
They relieve my pain. When I grab something, I'm not in pain. The support or whatever magic these things do, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter to me what it is. It works.
I get a lot of pain, and it can make it difficult to do the smallest thing. While I'm wearing this, I do not have any pain. I can use it on the keyboard. I can use my phone. I drive with it. I sleep with it. I love this glove.
The new Copperfit compression gloves with Sure Grip technology. Relief from painful muscle and joint soreness. Guaranteed or your money back. Call 1-800-984-5571 or on the web at getcopperfitgloves.com for only $19.99. Order right now and your shipping is free.
I tried it. I use it. I know it works.
Copperfit gloves definitely just make my life better.
I've used Copperfit before. This has helped my hands so much. These things work.
Feel better with copper-infused compression. Ask for it by name. Copperfit compression gloves.
I sent your new prescription to the pharmacy.
Any idea how much it will cost?
You have a choice. Insurance or GoodRx?
I have insurance.
Insurance is not what it used to be. People struggle to get their prescriptions covered, and prices keep rising. I recommend GoodRx. You get free coupons to save on your prescriptions. Compare prices to find the best discounts.
GoodRx. Smart.
Stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today.
Jim and Joanne are here to pick up the same prescription. They both know the system is not on their side. They both know drug costs are out of control. But one of them is taking back control with GoodRx.
Next.
So while he's paying that much, even with his insurance, she's paying this much just by using GoodRx. Use GoodRx to compare prices at pharmacies in your area and stop paying too much for your prescriptions. Download the free app today and take back control.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Maxey's finally pulling his weight in this thing. What did you just say? You've been brilliant all day.
Well, I think what was very interesting is that this guy is an official, right? Official with the government, a scientific expert, and he is actually before the Congress telling them that the likelihood of us having a vaccine in 18 months is zero or very nil. So in some regards, he's actually kind of speaking the truth that we haven't really heard from some of the others who've been blowing smoke, as you say.
And I think that he ought to be able to have to back that up. Hey, you're BARDA. If you don't think it's a vaccine, tell us why. And I think that helps the president, helps the country. Now we can plan. If Jonas Salk's out there on this Manhattan Project, God bless us. That's Deus ex machina, right? That's great. But we got a plan that's never going to happen. Every day. And now this guy finally said it.
And he's apparently repeated several times that he thinks the most important thing is that all the data be given to the American people so they can understand the danger. I mean, this is something that we've been parroting now for, 3 months?
That's absolutely right. And you take into account what the World Health Organization said yesterday. Dr. Mike Ryan said the virus may become just another endemic virus in our communities, and this virus may never go away. So the goalposts are shifting again.
Well, and I want to know, to Steve's point, what is he said to Dr. Fauci? What has he said to Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett? Because they clearly seem to be operating on a different timeline and different look on this. And Steve, I'd love to play the clean.
I just want to, because you keep making this point. It's a good point. I'd ask him, why didn't you whistleblow on that? They've been talking about this thing on the vaccine for months, and I kind of think some of the policies even been based upon it. You've heard it. You've got all these guys talking about it. Fauci, they've all said it. Why didn't you go to the vice president and say, did you ever approach him at the time and say, hey, I'm BARDA. I'm the long-range guy. I'm the guy that funds the $10 billion up in the congressional district in Northern California that they're working on. And the reason is it's around Stanford, okay? That's why it's up there in Silicon Valley. They're all the geniuses up there. You're the guy. Why didn't you whistleblow on that? But I think a positive can come out of here because you finally got a guy that's the head of the thing. I would take 3 days and let's just go through this. And I would hope the vice president would be able to sit there at the end of 3 days and said, this is what we've been saying on the task force. This is what we've been saying to the American people the entire time. If it's not, then we got to get it united. We're in what Powell told you yesterday and what Fauci implied yesterday. We have a long grind ahead of us, okay? As we open up, and this thing's going to come back and forth. And the reason I keep on this thing, we know very little about this virus, okay? What we know is it came from a lab in Wuhan. They're settling around that, all the intelligence things. And let me tell you something, folks. Good stuff did not go into that lab, and worse stuff was coming out of it. Okay? We don't know about this thing. We don't know how it's going to mutate. We don't know the different strands of it. The top brains in the world are doing research all over. I'm hearing about it a little bit as forward-leaning on what they're saying. And the top brains in the world are saying, hey, we never, and this is the lie, we never got a vaccine for SARS. In this thing, I've heard guys say, hey, it would be 1 billion years of evolution to get to this baby. Okay? This is SARS too, but it's not like a linear thing. It's geometric to the 10th power. That's what we're dealing with. That's why it's different all the time, right? And I understand the freedom guys and the libertarian guys, everybody wants to get open. We got to do it rapidly but smartly. Rapidly but smartly. You would think this guy, who I think had a pretty good track record at BARDA, would be the kind of guy with asking tough, focused questions, could finally get to the bottom of what in the hell they're telling the President of the United States.
Well, maybe it requires that we put some of these scientific experts under oath in order to get a straight answer out of them.
Whoa! Wasn't Fauci? Was Fauci under oath the other day? Was that just a come along and answer some questions? I don't think I don't think it was under oath. I think was it under oath?
Yeah, they're always under oath, but there goes some question about. I'd like to see a legal interpretation about if you're not there, if Zoom, particularly, I'm assuming he was in D.C., but if you cross state lines, some issues about whether or not such a Zoom thing would be enforceable on those.
Man, that is Ted Cruz 101 right there, brother. You can tell that that's a genius. I love that. That's genius. What are you talking about?
Look, man, you drop $1 million on legal fees in like a 2.5
You're
year
an expert.
period. You're going to be like, I'm not a lawyer, but I've spent enough for 3 law degrees.
And if it ever comes to it, I will be testifying from the British Virgin Islands.
Let's go. We got some great audio.
Got to play.
And I want to make sure we get all the updates from Dr. Bright. I think this is another one we're going to have to watch in its entirety later in the day because I'm sure there are nuggets throughout this.
Yeah, so I want to go to Dave Portnoy, who many people know is the founder of Barstool Sports. He went on parts of it were expletive laden.
But this is the reason this is important. Fauci had that when Fauci carpet bombed everywhere and took the Liz Smith Pete Buttigieg, which I'm going to put him everywhere, and people are criticizing what is, and the one they picked out, why is Dr. Fauci doing the guys at Barstool?
And the reason why this ties all back, we talked the other day about Judy Woodruff pulling my question and presenting it to Senator Cassidy. We've talked about the moving goalpost. I will tell you that we've had a number of reporters and journalists come back at us and say, you guys are raising good points, just very much to the whole issue about moving the goalpost. And in fact, I don't want to say their names because they didn't give me approval to, but I'll give you an example. Even this morning, when I tweeted out MSM, mainstream media, thirsty to stoke Trump versus Fauci fight where none exists. Only fight is between Fauci and Fauci. Need consistency and clarity from his statements. Look, the deputy Washington editor from NPR retweeted that this morning. So this is, people are catching on to this. So let's play Dave Portnoy. It's a 1-minute segment. You're going to love it. Don't worry, it's all clean, so your ears aren't going to explode. But let's just play it, and we'll come back to it.
When did this become flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve to we have to find a cure or everyone's going to die? Like Fauci. Seems like a nice enough dude. I've always been a guy, no agenda. Looks like he could be maybe the grandfather in Wedding Crashers. Gets in front of the Senate. He's like, we reopen the country too quick, everyone's dead. Where'd that come from? And the LA mayor. We're not opening the city till we find a cure? What? Find a cure? Who says we're going to find a cure? We haven't found a cure to cancer. It took AIDS 20 years or whatever. Do we even have a cure? So the economy's just shut down? All we've heard forever, flatten the curve, make sure there's hospital beds. We're there. Now all of a sudden it's like a 180. This is like taking a cross-country flight, 6 hours. They tell you flight 6 hours. 5 hours and a half go by. They get on the intercom like, oh, just kidding. We have another 10 hours. You can't do that. People have been mentally preparing. We're doing what you ask. We've done exactly what you said. Now you're changing the rules. In some states are open, some closed. LA shutting down, New York shutting down, Arizona's opening, Florida's opening. Seems along political lines. What?
And then I stopped it before we said anything we can't. But Steve, I'm going to go back to your great line that you drove over and over. If you're going to go through hell, go through it quickly. When we brought up the 30 days to save America, it was everyone come together, rally around your patriotic spirit. We're going to smash this thing, and then we're going to come out of it. We're going to get a sense of where we are. We're going to stop this thing. Dave Portnoy, El Prez, when he talks, this is the frustration of every small business owner around the country.
That's Vox Populi right there. Yes. That's what every small business owner and entrepreneur and all of our audience is thinking. Hey, if you lay out the rules, I'll play by the rules. I'm American. I can toughen everything out. We go through hell. We'll do it. Boom. If you tell me flat, I got it. But that's what Fauci's yesterday was. What did he just say? And my problem, I love your bifurcation. Jack was on a roll until
he's coughed all his brains out.
It's always, get me a mask.
Sweden.
For Jack.
Herd immunity.
For Sweden, yeah. Suck on that, Atlas shrugged. Fauci. When you say Fauci versus Fauci, define that for the audience. What do you mean?
So I'm going to talk about it. It's not just the big things like the big massive sound bites. I'm going to play just a very quick 7-second sound bite. Here's how CNN is just in the passing comments. They're trying to set up as if President Trump is attacking Dr. Fauci.
A lot ahead this hour, and next they'll become the president is going public, as you saw, with his frustration with Dr. Fauci. But who do you trust?
Okay, right there. So that's the Poppy Harlow.
And the headline in CNN this morning was Trump breaks with Fauci in big, bold terms. Trump breaks with Fauci.
Right. And look, this is the construct the media wants it to fall into. This is Trump supposedly attacking Dr. Fauci. No, people are asking for the consistency and the clarity. We heard Dr. Senator Rand Paul say that these models and what we have to do are constantly changing. We have Dave Portnoy, El Prez from Barstool Sports saying, wait a minute, it was flatten the curve. Now we got to have the vaccine. We got to, otherwise everyone's going to die.
We have the cure. We have to have a cure.
Right. And you have, and again, Portnoy's obviously built a successful business, but he's not a virologist or epidemiologist, but he's even pointing out the fact, hey, we don't have a cure for cancer, don't have a cure for AIDS, we might never actually have this. You have people realizing, wait a minute, the goalposts keep changing. So when we say Dr. Fauci versus Dr. Fauci, you can play his clips of don't wear a mask, do wear a mask, don't go to China, or don't shut down flights to China, do shut down flights to China. He's constantly changing the measurements.
Portnoy, and you got to listen to the thing. It's got too many F-bombs to put on radio, but you've got to go. We'll have it up on the site. You got to click on. Here's why. He had another piece of real wisdom in there. talk about how many decades it took him to build Barstool. How many entrepreneurs are out there right now that have worked 10, 20? Let's talk about John Fredericks. John Fredericks was bankrupt and living in a hotel on the crash of 2008. They lived in a hotel room and had to go out and get some food with the kids. In a little hotel room, had the entire family. He was stone cold broke. Look how he's built his radio network up. The John Fredericks Radio Network is kind of the radio network of the deplorables. These are the kind of men and women that have built things with their own sweat and blood over 10 and 20 and 30 years, and they're looking, as Steve Cortes says, an economic inferno. Okay? What Portnoy says, you can't just sit there, and this is my thing with Fauci, you can't just flippantly say, we got to wait for the therapeutic, not the vaccine, but the therapeutic cocktail cure, like I did HIV. No, bro, what are you talking about? You never said that before. If that's a new thing, and are you telling the President of the United States, we've got to pull this together? We don't have time, and I blame the mainstream media. We don't have time for games. President Trump did not break with Fauci. Did not break with Fauci. That's just a lie. That's a lie. Fauci did not go up through the chain of command. You're supposed to be evidence-based and science-based and data-based, and you believe in the bureaucracy and you believe in the administrative state. Well, the administrative state is built upon a chain of command. That Barta reports to somebody, and he goes there, and Fauci reports to Collins, and he goes in the committee. And Fauci, as the senior scientific advisor to the President of the United States, there's a way he does it. Trump didn't break with that. The first time Trump heard it was yesterday. He says, hey, you know what? I don't know if I agree with that. You know, I'd like Dr. Fauci, but I don't know if I agree that the schools got to open. Absolutely, he should say that. As Portnoy says, everybody says, because it was dropped. Steve Cortes said the CCP dropped an economic meteor on us. Well, Fauci dropped a meteor on us yesterday, and the mainstream media didn't say one word about it. You didn't sit there and say, let's go back at CNN. Let's go back and look at how many times Fauci kind of said something different. And we're not trying to hang him on every word. I don't want to play that game. It's not a gotcha game. It's a save the nation game, okay? And to save the nation, we have to pull together with the best brains in the world to do it. You're all on Trump all day long. He's winging it. He's calling audibles. He's just doing it. Look at yourselves. Look at the disgraceful way that you've done this and reported on this, okay? This is why I said, you say the opposition party, you act like an opposition party. You don't act like we're the biggest partisans in the world. And we every day try to go out of our way to go an even-handed approach and criticize people where they should be criticized. Yes, we're not saying Rand Paul and Steve Cortes would be on there because we think the task force is totally manned up and maybe hitting it every day. Okay, we understand there are issues. That's why I want to see on the Barta guide, let's go back and see the chain of title of your emails and your questions, everything like that. What did you tell the task force and when did you tell them? And by the way, if he's in there and he told the task force something, then Vice President Pence has got to answer. Hey, dude, Mark Short, Pence, who are solid, straightforward guys, what happened here? Can we come back? One more segment. We're on fire today. At least I'm on fire. My hair's on fire. Be back in a second.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain and it's affecting your everyday life. You do something.
If you can find something to help you get back out and be active like Copperfit, go for it.
Absolutely.
Do not give up.
A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight, durable construction.
Nothing more painful than having back pains. If you're aching, if you feel like you can't work out anymore, you can. And that's with Copperfit.
Yeah. It's for all of us who still want to be active, still want to compete.
Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this really does feel good. It feels to me like the fountain of youth.
Copperfit's best-selling back support just got bigger, badder, and better. Or call 1-800-944-5851. Or on the web at advancedbackpro.com. Get yours now for only $19.99.
This does feel good. That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun.
Play for the love of the game.
Copperfit, live limitless.
At Leaf Filter, we're on a never-ending journey to end gutter cleaning forever. Whoa! Way too dangerous, Bill. Say goodbye to that ladder. Way too clogged, Melissa. Those black gutters are causing serious damage to your home. Look at these cracks in your foundation. Leaf Filter, the nation's #1 rated gutter protection system, will keep you safe and protect your home. Leaf Filter's stainless micromesh screen fits over your existing gutters and is guaranteed to filter out everything except for water. No more leaves or debris in your gutters for the life of your home. Schedule your free gutter inspection and estimate, just like Paul. With Leaf Filter's lifetime warranty, we guarantee you'll never have to clean those nasty gutters again. Everybody okay with that? I should. Call 833-LEAF FILTER or go to getleaffilter.com for your free gutter inspection and estimate. Act now and save 15% off your purchase.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Remember, our principal line of work here is take down the CCP, right? Because when you're broke and now you know it's going to be like Japan for the next 10 years and your grandchildren aren't going to have anything, when you fully embrace that, understand this came from Beijing. It came from a handful of people that made decisions that helped destroy, as Steve Cortes says, an economic meteor that turned into an economic inferno that burned through your life, your personal life. When you're angry enough and you're mad enough and you're focused enough, that's when things are going to change. That's when the deplorables are going to bond with Lao Beijing, the old 100 names, overthrow these criminals, and that's what they are, stone-cold criminals in the Chinese Communist Party. I was very moved. We actually yesterday went after, and Raheem did such an amazing job of this, the paper, the daily newspaper of capitalism, the Wall Street Journal. And James Toronto and guys, the op-ed section is terrific, although they used to beat me up all the time. Fantastic. Read it every day. The op-ed was China wants to help the world fight coronavirus. China wants to help the world fight coronavirus. Raheem did such a fantastic job at deconstructing this during the day. He's got more to report. But a listener to the show that watches it at night after her work, a financier, was so moved, she actually, first time in 30 years, wrote a letter to the editor was driven so much because she had read this earlier in the day and hadn't realized the subtext to it because the Wall Street Journal didn't tell you.
Yeah, the Wall Street Journal didn't tell anybody who Xi Feng is, really. A very short byline there. We obviously went more into Xi Feng's history and what he's doing in Hong Kong currently. But I want to read this, anonymized letter from this reader because it was very moving. Quote, Dear editors, I am deeply disappointed to see an editorial in your paper by Xi Feng, head of the Chinese Foreign Ministry in Hong Kong. How could you possibly publish an editorial written by this man or anyone else attached to the CCP, which is blatantly waging war against America? By publishing this piece, you did nothing more than turn your paper into a vessel for the CCP's active propaganda campaign promoting lies about the Wuhan virus and the intent of communist China. The letter goes on, and it has great cause to go on. I just want to hit you with the conclusion here as well. I took the time to write to you as I very much like the Wall Street Journal. I'm a long-time subscriber, and it is my daily go-to for news. I sincerely hope you will take this to heart. I saw the comments this piece provoked from your readers. I've heard the commentary it provoked on several media channels across the nation. I am not alone in my sentiment. And that letter was sent to the Wall Street Journal's letters email address, which is wsj.ltrs@wsj.com. And what did I say on the show yesterday? I said the CCP is going to take a public victory lap over placing this op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. Well, guess what, guys? CGTN, which is the CCTV's, the Chinese state media's international arm.
London-based, with former BBC sophisticated personnel running it.
This is, and by the way, we're going to have a lot more coming out of the United Kingdom very soon on this also about their influence networks in Europe. But CGTN pops a piece up late last night. Commissioner of Chinese Foreign Ministry in Hong Kong calls for team spirit to fight COVID-19. And Steve, they even have a screen grab of the Wall Street Journal op-ed page embedded within the CGTN report on this. In Mandarin, it's on the Xinhua website as well. The CCP, as I predicted, are taking a victory lap because James Taranto and the Wall Street Journal staff decided that it was perfectly tickety-boo to publish CCP propaganda.
This is the entire reason we have War Room Pandemic, okay? We're not going to just sit here. This is information warfare. This is the sophisticated. Listen, these guys are criminals. They're gangsters, but they are incredibly sophisticated, okay? This is the greatest, smartest, toughest enemy we've ever had to fight. This is a true existential threat to the United States of America and the entire West and all of mankind, including their own people they've enslaved. And this is information warfare 101. But we want to let the Global Times, the tabloid know, the People's Daily know, the China Daily know, CCTV know, CTGN, the global branch in London. We're going to be in your grill every day. No more games. There's no more stuff like that nobody knows. We're going to rip your face off, okay? We're going to rip your face off. You know why? You deserve to have your face off. This guy's the butcher. They sent the butcher in to lock down on those kids. Those kids are like 1775 patriots, okay? And they just rounded up another 200 the other day. And what they do is they beat these kids. They suppress these kids, these freedom fighters. This is revolting. And they've gotten away for decades and decades and decades. Guess what? They're not getting away with it anymore. And the reason is the deplorables are seeing this every day, and they're going to get a belly full of it. And they're going to say, hey, the leadership's not going to come from Washington. President Trump's doing everything he can. But as the Trump revolution, we know it comes from the people. Once the American people get focused and say, we're not going to tolerate this anymore, it's going to be like 1776. It's going to be like 1863. It's going to be like 1943. When the American people have finally had a belly full of it, ask the Soviet Union how it turned out for them, right? Ask those guys how it turned out when Ronald Reagan came in and said, hey, how about this? We win, they lose. No more Henry Kissinger happy talk. No more rapprochement. No more SALT treaties. No more. We win, they lose. And 8 years later, the Berlin Wall came down. We're going to take this firewall down. And the way we're going to do it, we are more sophisticated than you. And we are stone cold killers, and we're not going to back off. We're not going to back off. You can call us everything. You can do this. You can send your guys around. You can do anything you want. This is our life's work, to rip your face off, okay? CCTV and Global Times and People's Daily and the guys in London, right? And this schmuck in the pages of the Wall Street Journal, okay? It's the purpose. And tomorrow, when I'm so glad, people are rallying to this called the Henry Jackson Society, which has been so fantastic for decades, is now fired up. They got another great report coming out tomorrow. Are you going to report on?
Yeah, we had the coronavirus compensation, which listeners will remember. You can obviously check that out on the internet if you haven't seen it yet. Coronavirus compensation hitting with a new report today. We're going to talk about tomorrow, breaking the China supply chain, how the Five Eyes can decouple from strategic dependency. And the top lines are amazing. We'll save it for tomorrow, breaking the China supply chain.
War Room woke. Okay, War Room woke. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're going to have a special on Saturday. Tear down this firewall, and you're going to hear for the voice of defiance. Yes, that would be the voice of the Chinese people that are enslaved in China. They're telling you every Saturday exactly what it's like to live under guys like this, okay? You hear it from them, not from us. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10. Hashtag War Room Pandemic. We want to know how Jack's doing. Take a poll. Up or down vote on Jack Maxey's performance today. See you tomorrow at 10.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 15 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I back MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota.
I really like